Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a security risk that isn't really about cracking super complex code. Nope. It's about flaws that are hidden in the very blueprint of our digital world. So let's just jump right in with a question that really gets to the heart of this. We all have this image of hackers as these brilliant digital masterminds, right? But what if the reality is actually way simpler and maybe, just maybe, a lot more dangerous because of it? To really wrap our heads around this, we've got to look at one of the most high-profile, just jaw-dropping security breaches we've seen in recent years. Okay, picture this. It's July 2020, and all of a sudden, the world is just watching as a whole bunch of verified Twitter accounts. We're talking politicians, tech billionaires, you name it. They all get hijacked, and they start pushing this really weird Bitcoin scam. It created this global chaos, and of course, Twitter had to scramble to shut it all down. And here's the kicker. In just a few hours, the attackers walked away with about $120,000 in Bitcoin. But honestly, the money was just the tip of the iceberg. The real damage was to our trust in the platform itself. So the big question on everyone's mind was how? How did this even happen? The first thought, naturally, was that this had to be some kind of super sophisticated, next-level hack to take over so many important accounts all at once. But the truth, well, it was something else entirely. Right, so the investigation, it didn't find some brilliant, malicious piece of code. Not at all. Instead, it pointed to a fundamental weakness in the design of Twitter's internal tools. The flaw was in the plan from the very beginning. And that, right there, brings us to our main topic, insecure design. This is such a big deal, you guys, that the Open Web Application Security Project, you probably know them as OWASP, they added it as a brand new category to their legendary top 10 list of security risks. It's all about getting security wrong before you even start building. Okay, to really get this, let's use an analogy. Think of it like this. A normal bug in the code, that's like a single cracked window in a house. It's a problem, for sure, but it's contained. In secure design, that's like building the entire house without ever even planning to put locks on the doors. It's a massive, systemic problem that's way, way harder to fix. So you might be wondering, how does this kind of thing actually show up in the wild? I mean, this isn't just a problem for giants like Twitter. These insecure design flaws, they're everywhere, and they usually pop up in a few predictable ways. So the source material breaks them down into a few main types. You've got business logic flaws. That's where you can basically trick the app's own rules to do something they shouldn't. Then there's insecure authentication. Think super weak password resets or not having multi-factor authentication. A big one is a lack of rate limiting, which just throws the door wide open for brute force attacks. And then there are insecure workflows, where you can literally just skip past critical steps, like, say, the payment page. Yikes. And here's the thing, it's so easy to exploit. Take this classic e-commerce example. The system is designed to let you apply a discount code, right? But nobody in the design phase thought to ask, hey, should we check how many times someone uses this code? So an attacker can just hammer that API call over and over, applying the discount again and again until the price hits zero. See? It's not a bug in the code. It's a complete failure of imagination during the design stage. All right, so we've seen the problem. We've seen the cracks in the foundation. The big question now is, how do we stop this from happening? How do we build a digital fortress from day one instead of a house of cards that's just waiting to fall over? Well, the answer really lies in a totally different way of thinking. It's about baking these core principles right into the DNA of a project from the very start. Secure by design means security isn't just something you tack on later. The principle of least privilege is huge. It just means nobody gets more access than they absolutely need to do their job. And defense in depth, that's just smart. It means you have multiple layers of security. So if one fails, it's not game over. And a really key practice here is something called threat modeling. It sounds technical, but it's actually pretty simple. It's a structured way to think like a bad guy. You start by figuring out what's most important to protect. Then you just brainstorm all the terrible things someone might try to do to it. And then you design your defenses to stop those specific things from happening. And you do all of this before a single line of code is ever written.
Okay, so let's pull this all together. If there's one single crucial idea you walk away with from this explainer, what should it be?
It's this. Security is not a feature. It's not something you can just add on at the end. The fact that OWASP put insecure design so high up on their list, that's a huge deal. It's the whole industry basically saying, hey, writing perfect secure code on top of a broken design is like building a castle on a foundation of sand. It's just not going to work. And really, as the OWASP guide itself points out, you don't have to look very far for a powerful reminder of what's at stake. The Twitter hack is the perfect and very public example of how one flaw in the design of an internal tool can spiral into a total catastrophe with massive, real-world consequences. And that kind of leaves us with a final big question to think about. In a world that's literally built on software, maybe it's time we start worrying less about the individual bricks, the lines of code, and a whole lot more about the strength and integrity of the blueprint itself. Thanks for watching.